Hey guys, we take here Blueberry Hill. So it's been a while since I made a live video. Today's project, we're going to be making a bench for my miter saw, a wide one, 8 feet long actually, cut in 2 sections so I can have 2 separate little bench things moving around on casters. In preparation for me doing some work on the underneath of the game room. I'm going to be putting a wooden ceiling up there. It's going to be fence pickets, 5.5 inch by 8, and I got to cut the dog ears off. They all have those little ears taken off. That's the only way I can find those things without spending a lot of money for the cedar. So anyway, I'm going to chop those off after I get done with the bench. It should take only 1 day, maybe a couple hours. Finish that up. I'll start chopping the ears off of the fence material, and then we're going to start doing the underneath of the game room, putting some insulation and the fencing up there. I do want to get a stain before I do that. So once I cut the ears off, I'm going to seal it. And I'm not going to worry about the length too much. I'll chop a few of them down. They're going to be staggered install, so we don't have seams on anything. Should work fine. I do have to put some first strips up on the seat channel under there. You'll see that. That so I can nail the fencing to it, and that should actually make it look pretty good. The cedar is going to be a natural. I love the look of cedar when it's oiled. That's what we're going with, and it's going to be a little bit of a rough cut. Fencing material is not smooth for the most part. You can buy it smooth. It's very expensive. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to switch time lapse and I'll make the bench. See you in a bit. So I'm going to start the process of doing the actual legs for the bench. Basically, I'm doing a 2x4, just gluing them edge to edge. I'm using polyurethane glue, Gorilla Glue, and I wet down one side. Of course, the glue reacts when you wet it on one side, and then put the glue down, clamp them together. Then use a bunch of screws, probably about a foot and a half. And I'm doing a full 8-foot pieces right now. And I'm going to saw them down to the right height for the bench. I found this to be a lot easier. The 2x are pretty straight, so I wanted to make the legs nice and straight and strong. So I built a few of these, and they're going to be all the corners for the bench plus some of the inside supports. And you'll see that in a minute. So here I'm cutting the height of the legs. The whole bench is, the top of the bench is 32 inches off the ground. 4-inch casters, actually 3-inch wheels, 4-inch total height, and then 3/4 inch ply on top of that. I am going to band the top with 2x4s as well, so it's going to be a little bit wider than it is. The plywood I'm actually attaching this stuff to is left over from another project. Those are from the doors we built a long time ago for the house. But anyway, I attach them with the glue, set a bunch of screws in there, and then I actually cut the width of the 3 sections to the bench. In a second you'll see me cutting them up. I did it this way. I guess I could have cut them beforehand, but no big deal. It's the same difference. I would have cut them this way anyway, so here it is. The 2 sides are not quite the same width, doesn't matter. The center is the one that's important, and that's where the saw will sit, which detents about 3 inches below the left and right surface. I pretty much do all 3 sections that way. Both the left and right sections, I put 4 legs on them, and the middle section is going to get legs only on one side, and then a 2x4 support across the second section. You'll see that in a minute. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm actually making this a detachable bench. So you're going to have the place where the saw sits, and one of the pieces, the higher pieces, you're going to be able to unscrew them and have separate sections. So here, see me doing the center section. Right now I'm just doing them so I can set everything up together. I got them on the ground, and then I'm going to do the bottom supports, flip everything over, and do the rest of the supports. And the reason I'm doing it this way, because the width of the plywood is a little bit narrow, so I wanted the casters to be as far wide as possible so the thing doesn't fall over. So a little bit of a compromise in the way I was building it, but not a big deal. Here you can see me doing the bottom support there. I'll do that all around, and then I'll flip it over, put more supports underneath the plywood on the top parts, and you'll see that in a second. But anyway, rhyme or reason? Yeah, sure. There's a plan? Yeah, it's in my head. I had the plan in my head for, well, I scribbled it out, but I didn't have any dimension cuts or anything like that planned out. So here you see me just doing the supports on the top plate. It's not a big deal. Everything's tight already. The glue sets up pretty quick. I'm not actually stopping and waiting for the glue to dry at all. I'm doing a bunch of screws everywhere. So the screws hold everything, the glue dries, and gets nice and solid. Once it dries, of course, this will be pretty solid piece. You see me doing a couple of little support pieces for the 2x. Again, this is a compromise because of the width of the top of the bench. If I was going to do it, normally I'd make a frame first and then put the top on, etc. But the width of it, I didn't want to put the casters too close on the inside. Here's me putting the casters on this part. It's actually about that time. That way I can roll it around and do the rest of the build out. So all the wood's put together with 2.5-inch construction screws. They're the ones kind of pre-tap, and they work really well. They're the T25 heads, so they never really strip or anything. They work great. Here I'm cutting the shelves that go on the very bottom, the supports. I'm cutting the little recesses for the legs, and flop it in there, and off you go. So very simple construction. I put a couple of supports in the middle, no big deal, and good to go. So that'll take quite a bit of weight, etc. And I didn't want to spend too much complication time on this. Now, of course, I'm going to trim this out so it looks a little rough top and bottom, but you'll see trim on the bottom section as well as all around the top of the bench. So here's the other side of that. It's a free-floating piece that's going to get screwed into the other section, but making them separate with individual casters so I can break it apart if I have to. I'm just going to put them together with the screws and roll everything around like a big old 8-foot long bench. But if I need to split it up, I can. So that was the process for that. Anyway, pretty straightforward. Same construction technique as the other part. Doing the supports for the 2x, etc., and off I go. Alright, so all sections are done. Basically, I put them all together. I'm going to attach it together once I put the bottom shelf in. I put that in and cut it to size. This is a leftover piece of ply. So basically I used two big sections of ply I had sitting around doing nothing, and got to make good use of it. I may or may not put drawers or cabinet doors on one of these or both of these or whatever, depending on what the shop really needs. But anyway, there you see. It's all together. I make sure everything fits. I'm going to screw it together real quick, and now you can roll the whole thing around and do wide stuff 8 foot long. So here I'm doing the more caster work. I did have to move the casters on the middle where the two pieces of the bench connected, because the casters rotate and they take up quite a bit of space during a rotation and they touch each other. So I had to put supports on the bottom. That's what I'm doing now, and then relocated those casters so everybody could swivel. So little mistake on my part. I didn't measure that up. I expected it to clear, did not. So just a small redo, not a big deal. And I did want to put solid supports for these casters, because not that it's heavy, it's just more structurally sound. So now it's time to make it look a little prettier than it does. I scraped off some of the polyurethane glue. I put the trim on the bottom section to cover up the 3/4 inch exposed plywood. I cut a few pieces of wood. Just let me put that in there, and there you go. So I did have to make 2 sections there because I do want to split that apart maybe in the future. And the top, I'll do the top in a second, and that's going to be just a 2x4 surround. Alright, with the bottom almost finished, I'm going to start with the top. You'll see that in a second. I'm going to get 2x4 wrap all around the top of the bench. That makes the bench roughly 24 inches, 25 inches wide, which is pretty good. I almost want it to go like 26, 27, but whatever. This should work. Anyway, I use 2x4s for the wrap, and try to level it up the best I can with the top, and then I'll come back with a belt sander, make everything nice and smooth and level. And then you'll see me install a laminate flooring material on the top of the bench. It's nice and slippery, very, very solid, very hardy. So I like using that stuff. I'm almost done with the banding. I'm taking my time here. I'm just making sure everything's nice and level. And again, a lot of screws. They're all 2.5 inch, right? So glue and screw, and it just took a few hours. There you saw me doing a little bit of wet. I had a wet rag that I kind of just slop on there, and the glue reacts to it, and you'll see it foam up. And it's a urethane glue, so it's super, super good stuff. Plus, it's waterproof, etc., and very tough. Quick buzz with the belt sander, just to make everything nice and smooth, level it out, and then I'll come back with a regular sander, make everything nice, a little bit smooth, take off the print that's on some of the wood just for fun, make it look nice and clean. Here I'm doing the top. So I've done this a lot of times with even expensive veneers, where you band like a desk or a table or something. And you just got to be real nice and smooth so you don't cut through the veneer, but aside from that, it works pretty good. And that's my first use of a battery-operated belt sander. My other one, my trusty 15 or 20-year-old one, died, so I had to get that. And here's my orbital sander for rigid. It works really nice. I'm using, I believe it's a 220 grit, maybe 120 at this point, but just a quick buzz with it, just to knock down anything and take the prints off the 2x, and off I go. So it's laminate flooring time on the bench. So this stuff's pretty tough. I mean, it's you know, you can scratch it with a knife and stuff like that, but it's pretty bulletproof. It's very hard. It's waterproof. I can bang on it pretty good, and it's kind of slippery. So when I have the miter saw in the middle, it'll be very easy to slide the wood that I'm cutting around. Not a big deal. Anyway, this is one of the better surfaces. I've used linoleum before, but since we had the laminate flooring, that's what I used. Very easy to install. Just glue everything up, slide it together, and I didn't have my rubber mallet, but normally you can pound things a little bit tighter together with the rubber mallet. As long as you squeeze it together, it worked pretty good. And this takes about a day to dry, so I'm going to leave it after I do this, and then come back with a router and cut all the extra off, and then sand it down and wait for stain. So here's a very quick video of the router. I don't know what I did with the camera. I hit the button probably at the wrong time, but anyway, you didn't see me cut all the laminate off. Not a big deal. Just got a router bit with a ball bearing on it to follow the outline of the bench. Cut all the extra off. Clean everything up a little bit, and then I'm going to do a really quick sand of the edges, and then we're ready for stain. So I got lots of leftover stuff from different projects. So here's a gallon of I think I mixed the color a little bit different. This is natural out of the can, but it's kind of like a honey oak stain, and it's got an oil finish to it, seals and stains at the same time. So some Minwax's stuff works pretty good. I'm not really worried about oversaturating. I'm trying to soak in as much as I can. I'm using a brush, just brush it on, and then if there's excess, I smear it off with the brush, and that actually worked out pretty good. I'm not doing the cloth technique and wipe and wax on wax off stuff. I just put it on and then kind of spread it with the brush, and it's good to go. This is a workbench after all, not fine woodworking stuff. But anywho, it's pretty straightforward. That's about it for the project. Once I finish this, it's ready for work, and we're going to start making, cutting down pickets for our ceiling in the game room overhang on our house. So if you're following our container home build, this is a tool bench I'm making for it, so we can actually make we have like 90 pickets to cut. Just makes it a lot easier. And of course I can put tools and stuff on it. Anyway, appreciate you guys watching. This is about it for this bench build. Appreciate you watching and following, and we'll catch you later. Oh, and we will have more builds coming. We got some projects lined up, so hit the subscribe button and follow us along. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Ciao.